So we're going to talk about VPNs. I feel like a lot of people have been doing VPNs for years, and with the pandemic, the VPNs, we use it a lot. And so why do we have to do that? And we're going to talk about why we use it, and then the way that we're going to change the way we use VPNs, because it turns out with advances in networking and other things in cloud proxy, basically, there's a lot of things we can do now without having to be on the VPN, where it still provides the same level of security. And so remember, what happens when you're on a VPN, right? You're on that network. It's not just like you can access web services and stuff. You're a peer on that network. And so there are a bunch of risks that comes with being on a VPN. Now, what we did with VPNs, part of the thing about VPN, right? Like if I need to get on a corporate network, we use a VPN tunnel. And what that does, it makes this laptop on that network. And what we do with that, though, is we break that internet connection straight to the internet, right? Because the VPN takes over the network. And so in this case, if you're on the VPN, the only connection you have left is to the corporate data center or colo, and then that thing's star topology with the other places, with the internet itself, with our video provider, with our email and other services, and with our private cloud, public cloud that we use, that we need to get access to things that aren't public, like the resources in the dev environments or somewhere else. So typically when you get on a VPN, you're on this network and any other networks are disabled. And it makes sense, right? Because if a virus or some attack came from the internet onto this laptop while you're on the VPN, because you're actually on the corporate network, right? This machine suddenly becomes infected and it's a peer on the corporate network. And so if somebody could get access to this box over the internet directly, then you have a major leak. And so typically when you pick up a VPN connection, all the other connections are disabled, and that's because they're going to route you to the security hub, which is in the corporate data center or in the colo. Now it turns out this eats a ton of bandwidth if you're doing video conferencing. Hey, I'm in a video conference with 20 people and we're doing movies and we're doing other stuff, right? And the whole company's doing that. And so that connection is so much higher bandwidth than anything else we do. The question is there a way to securely get on the VPN, right? But not route the video conference data through the corporate data center? It just doesn't make any sense. So we did that with these things called split routes. And so the VPN can actually know, hey, for this list of IP addresses, we're not going to go on the VPN. So you still can't do the internet in general. A very specific site would be allowed on this split, and that lets you connect direct. And I didn't draw this right, and I'm sure some VPN people will get on my case, but that's basically, we're not on the VPN to this SSO, or we could do a VPN, because there's only one VPN connection here. So, but I drew this like this because it's not really, what this drawing isn't right, but it's basically the idea that that machine can connect directly through the split proxy. I don't know how I should have drawn that. And then everything else still goes through the corporate data center. So everything else we do still has to do this kind of down and back thing to get where we need to be, except for this one site, the video conferencing site. And so suddenly, the network bandwidth we had between our remote workers and the data center probably drops by like 90% or more. All right, so then what's happened now, though, is we really like that, right? And so instead what we do is we have the ability to install cloud proxies. And so we put a cloud proxy on our machine, and that cloud proxy only connects to a proxy cloud. And then all the sites that we were going through the data center that really aren't owned by our company, we go out from that proxy cloud to those sites. And that works because we can make SSO work. So a lot of times when you do SSO, single sign-on, you set it up so that you can only sign on from inside your network, and that way, even on Office 365, people can't log in from outside to your company's office. I'm going to pick Office 365. Well, so if we're not going through the data center anymore and we still want to keep single sign-on, how does that work? And basically it works by, we have sort of this fake data center. It's not really, but it's a proxy source. And so all the traffic that is not going to the corporate data center, database connections, custom apps, or anybody hopping through the corporate data center and onto the public cloud that's firewalled off, right? I should have called this segregated public cloud instead of internal. Maybe I'll change that. That we still want those to be on the VPN, and that's because you need to be on the network, right? For the rest of these, you don't actually have to be on the network. You just need access to the endpoints. You don't need to be in the network they're in, and you don't need to be in the corporate network, because the reality is none of these are on your corporate network anyway. So you were dragging this traffic from the from public networks into your corporate network before, and instead now we do this split tunnel thing. We still don't allow direct internet connection because that would be an attack, but what we can do is we can proxy the internet through the proxy cloud, and then that can do the scanning and everything else, everything that we would have run internally, and it just pulls traffic off the corporate network. So we get dramatically better performance on the corporate network, and traffic that didn't need to be there doesn't get routed through that, and we're still secure, right? So, and we're even more secure actually, because in a lot of ways, a high percentage of the workers won't need to be on a VPN. Anybody who's a manager, right? Like a lot of them, they do corporate stuff, and so really they just need access to Outlook, to wikis, to SharePoint, to other services, web endpoints, and if those are stood up not in our corporate data center and somewhere else, then we can use this cloud proxies going through the proxy cloud, and that will let us connect in. And because we know the IP addresses of the proxy cloud, we can set up SSO. So I get all the experience of an internal user without having to get on the VPN. I actually think this is really cool. I've been playing with this right now, and it's kind of shocking how much faster it is. And 80% of the work I do, I don't need to be on the corporate network. So that's that. I hope that was useful. And basically the idea was we wanted to talk about cloud proxies, how we can do split tunneling with VPN. We can still get access to the internet and to SaaS, software as a service providers with SSO, all without being on the corporate network. And we reduce some of the risk in the corporate network because there's a whole class of users that never really need to be on that network. They just need access to some web apps, which we could do proxies for those. And they don't really need to be in any of these other places. So I hope that's useful for you. And I don't know, I didn't know how this worked and thought maybe somebody else was interested. Have a great day.